We, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty.
The not guilty verdict that set George Zimmerman free in the shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin rattled the nation, with many Americans questioning the jury's decision and wanting to ask the jurors a very tough question.
Some people have said George Zimmerman got away with murder. How do you respond to those people who say that?
George Zimmerman got away with murder, but you can't get away from God.
Juror B29, Maddie, came forward today in an ABC News exclusive interview. She said it wasn't an easy decision.
It's hard for me to sleep. It's hard for me to eat.
You haven't asked for money. You haven't asked for a book deal. You haven't asked for anything other than a forum to be able to tell your story.
Yeah. I don't need money. No money in this world could pay me to forget the pain that I'm going through. Trayvon Martin will always be in my heart.
But she wanted to talk about the verdict, how the jury reached it, and about what she sees as perhaps a higher justice.
At the end of the day, he's going to have a lot of questions and answers he has to deal with. The law couldn't prove it. We just have to believe in the Lord that if he has to pay, he will pay.
Maddie says putting her emotions aside and only considering the law was not easy.
I stand by the decision because of the law. If I stand by the decision because of my heart, he would have been guilty.
A 36-year-old mother of 8 who calls herself a black Hispanic was the only minority on the jury. Since the verdict and the public backlash, she says she has been ridden with guilt.
I feel that I was forcibly included in Trayvon Martin's death.
The shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin brought the issue of race in America back to the forefront. After Zimmerman's acquittal, outrage ignited across the country.
So how do you respond when you see people who are making this about race, who are saying, had Trayvon not been a young black man, that the conversation would be different?
Is it true? That's a question to be asked.
Even the president brought it up.
There are very few African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store. That includes me.
Just like Obama, I go to a lot of places and I get people to follow me sometimes.
Trayvon Martin's parents' reaction to the verdict echoes the feelings of many Americans.
I really didn't believe that he was not guilty.
While George Zimmerman has remained silent, his parents spoke to ABC News, offering an apology to Trayvon's family.
We are deeply sorry for this tragedy.
But for Trayvon Martin's parents, Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin, the fight for justice continues as they consider a civil suit.
It's not just about the Trayvon Martin case. Now it's about your kids. It's about other kids.
2 days after the verdict, another juror, B37, spoke to Anderson Cooper on CNN.
I think both were responsible for the situation they had gotten themselves into. I think both of them could have walked away.
There were some things that the other jurors said that you wanted to respond to.
B37 used the word we. I guess because we were in the jury together, she put it all as in a group. And the way she made a lot of us sound was, we walk by color. And that's not what I do.
And that was something that a lot of people from the outside thought must have been the discussion in the deliberations about race, about color, but that wasn't the case?
It was not the case.
In their first vote, B37 told CNN 3 jurors wanted not guilty. 1 wanted murder, second degree, and 2 wanted manslaughter.
What was your first vote?
My first vote was second-degree murder.
How did you go from, in 9 hours, from feeling he was guilty of second-degree murder to not guilty?
In between the 9 hours, it was hard. A lot of us that wanted to find something bad, something that we could connect to the law, because for myself, he's guilty, because the evidence shows he's guilty.
He's guilty of?
Killing Trayvon Martin. But as the law was read to me, if you have no proof that he killed them intentionally, you can't say he's guilty.
What was going on in your mind, your heart?
I was the juror that was going to give him the hung jury. Oh, I was. I fought to the end.
Do you have regrets that you didn't?
Kind of. I mean, I'm the only minority, and I felt like I let a lot of people down.
This polarizing case began in a gated community in Sanford, Florida. On February 26, 2012, Martin was walking back to a house where he and his father were staying. He caught the attention of the self-appointed neighborhood watch captain, George Zimmerman, who called police.
This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something.
They suggested he stay in his car.
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
What happened next is in dispute, but there seems to be no question there was an altercation loud enough so that multiple neighbors called 911. At issue, who was the attacker?
Oh my God! It's someone to be shot. Yes, the person is dead, laying on the grass.
Zimmerman fired one gunshot and killed Trayvon Martin. Those 911 calls were believed to be crucial pieces of evidence.
Whose voice did you think it was on the 911 call?
I've never really paid mind to whose voice it was, because the evidence shows that people's voices change when you're in extreme motion.
During the trial, the FBI's audio expert did testify that it is impossible to tell who was screaming for help. During their 16 hours of deliberations, the consideration of a possible manslaughter verdict weighed heavily on Maddie.
When you all sent that note to the judge asking for an explanation on manslaughter, what was that about?
What we were trying to figure out was manslaughter. In order to be charged, we had to prove that when he left home, he said, "I'm gonna go kill Trayvon Martin."
Her own lawyer, David Chico, says even legal experts would have been confused.
And I've thought a lot about it, and I haven't really been able to come up with, with really another charge, except, I mean, I think manslaughter was a charge that could be put forth.
Maddie says she had no idea that the world was watching so closely.
Solidarity!
After the jury was released, she says she crumbled as the negative news reports about their verdict erupted.
I literally fell on my knees and I broke down. My husband was holding me. I was screaming and crying. And I kept saying to myself, I feel like I killed him. And I feel that if they would put the law and a lot of people would read it, they would understand the choices that they gave us.
She says the choices she made, she still stands by today.
Where do we go from here?
My hope is that we stop walking around looking at color.
That also seemed the hope of the devastated parents of Trayvon Martin, who have been giving a kind of master class in forgiveness.
We continue to pray that, that we'll find peace and strength to be forgiving parents.
What would you like to say to Trayvon's parents?
I would like to apologize because I feel like I let him down. I didn't know how much importance I was into this case because I never looked at color, and I still don't look at color.
For Nightline, Robin Roberts, New York.